Hi everyone. So today we're going to practice some notice and note in preparation for the quiz tomorrow. So the way this is going to work is I will read you this really short story while you read along, and then you will decide what signpost you found in there. Did you find contrast and contradiction, aha moment, tough questions, words of the wiser again and again, or memory moment? And then you will explain where you found it, what's happening in the story, what is the contrast and contradiction, for example, or what was the aha moment. All right, so let's just get into it. This first story. Whitney's face lit up when she saw me climb aboard the bus. Right here, Lexi. You can sit beside me. I'll even give you the window seat. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. Okay, I said as I plopped down in the seat beside Whitney. I'd been dreading this new 45-minute bus ride ever since my parents announced that we would be moving to an acreage outside of town. I knew Whitney rode the bus, but she and I had never been the best of friends. We just didn't have that much in common. Whitney had been wearing makeup and flirting with boys since she was 8 years old. I, on the other hand, had no interest in covering my face in a rainbow of colors. Furthermore, I only ever talked to boys about our favorite sports teams, and I was a bit uncomfortable even doing that. "Hey, I had a question about math, Lex. Do you mind helping me?" she asked. "No, of course not," I answered. She peeked inside her backpack. "Oh, I guess I forgot my math book at school. Do you have yours?" I unzipped my backpack and dug out my math book, opening to our assignment. "Which part did you need help with?" "Actually, I think I can figure it out. Maybe I'll just copy down your answers, and then when I'm doing my assignment later, I can check my answers against yours, just to make sure they're correct." I sat there, dumbfounded, as she began to scribble the answers on a sheet of paper. How could I be so stupid? Whitney hadn't been looking for a bus buddy. She only wanted to copy my answers. When she was finished, she thanked me and slid into an open seat beside Jeremy. All right, so now you will tell me which signpost you found in this story, and then explain it to me in just a couple of sentences. And in your explanation, make sure that you are meeting those basic requirements in writing. All right, the next story. Kayla felt a twinge of regret as she walked past the lunch table where Sadie and Olivia were sitting. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw them giggling about something. She longed to know what was so funny, but she walked on. Last year, she had always eaten lunch with Sadie and Olivia, but this year things were different. She had joined the volleyball team and was suddenly accepted into a new circle of friends, a more popular group of girls. She set down her lunch tray and listened to Kristen, Sophie, and Carly discuss their slumber party plans for the upcoming Friday. "I wish I could invite you, Kayla, but my mom said I could only have 2 friends spend the night, and well, you know," Sophie's voice kind of trailed off. Kayla looked down at her lunch tray and nodded. "Yes, I know exactly what the situation is," she thought to herself. "I'm on the outside fringe of this group. I'll never be part of their inner circle." Kayla glanced longingly at Sadie and Olivia's table. Now they were hunched over a book, looking at something. A mountain of questions bubbled up in Kayla all at once. What was I thinking when I abandoned Sadie and Olivia to join this popular group? Is it really as great as I thought it would be to hang out with these girls? Would Sadie and Olivia welcome me back into their group? If they did, would it be the same as it always was, or would it be different? Would I be on the outside fringe of that group too? Kayla grimaced. She wished she had a time turner like the one Hermione used in the second Harry Potter book. She would love to go back and reverse some of the decisions she made at the beginning of the school year. All right, which signpost do you see in this story? And then explain it. Here's another story. As Will stared out the car window, he gnawed on his fingernails. He watched the raindrops run down the windows. It looked like the drops were chasing one another. His mom was driving him back to the hospital. This time, however, he wasn't going to be a patient. He was going to be a visitor. I much prefer being a visitor at the hospital, he thought to himself. As his mom pulled into the hospital's parking ramp, memories came back to him as fast as the raindrops running down the window. He recalled the doctors and the nurses, the painful procedures, and that horribly nauseous feeling he felt whenever he took his pain medication. He also remembered the good things that happened during his 1 month stay in the children's hospital, namely his friendship with Henry. Henry made the entire experience bearable. He remembered May 13th, the day he was discharged from the hospital, and the guilt he felt because Henry was still forced to remain in the hospital. There, the doctors were still trying to rid his body of the cancer he was fighting. Now, 1 month later, Henry was still in the hospital, and Will was going to visit him. "Mom, what should I say to Henry?" he asked. "I'm not sure," she admitted, "but I do remember how you hated it when your school friends came to visit you when you were in here and they didn't act normal around you." "You're right. I guess I'll just try to talk about the things we used to talk about, like sports and video games," Will replied. "I think Henry would appreciate that," Mom answered. Okay, which signpost do you see? And then explain it. And here's the fourth story. "Mom, I'm heading over to Chandler's house," I said. "Is your homework done?" she asked. I hesitated. "Yeah." "Okay, be back by 6 o'clock for supper. Don't forget you have basketball practice later tonight," she replied. I felt guilty lying to my mom, but Chandler had a new Xbox game that I just had to try out. If I had told her the truth about my social studies project, I would have become a prisoner, forced to stay home, and I would have had to wait until tomorrow to play the new game. No, that simply wasn't an option. By the time I showered after practice, it was nearly 8:45. I carried my backpack to the table in the family room. "I guess I do have homework. Mom, I forgot all about this social studies project that's due tomorrow." I braced myself for the lecture that was about to be unleashed. Mom raised her eyebrows, but didn't move from the couch, where she was watching television. "Okay, go to your bedroom and get started." My eyes narrowed. "Okay," I slowly replied. When I reached my bedroom, I retrieved my social studies folder from my backpack and reread the project directions. Uh-oh, this was going to take some planning. "Mom," I called, "I could really use your help with this." Mom appeared at my doorway. "Sorry, Matt, but I'm enforcing my homework help hours. I was available to help you with this project for the past 4 hours, but now I'm off duty. In fact, I'll be going to bed in about an hour. If you're still working after I go to bed, make sure you turn off all the lights." All right, which signpost do you see in this story? And then explain it. Here's the fifth story. Brenda heard a knock on her door. "Go away." Her words were muffled because her face was buried in a pillow. Brenda heard the doorknob turn and someone stepped into the room. "It's just me," said a voice that belonged to her older sister, Alicia. "Oh," said Brenda, sitting up on her bed, wiping her hair from her tear-stained face. "I bet you're pretty bummed about Dad's transfer," Alicia said sympathetically. Brenda nodded. "I can't believe we're moving to the tiny town of Sibley, population 2,000, she grumbled. "I just know that I'm not going to fit in there, that everyone is already going to have friends, and there's going to be no place for me to fit in." "Brenda, you'll fit in fine," Alicia insisted. "You're friendly, smart, and fun to be around." Brenda rolled her eyes. "You probably don't even remember when we moved here to Omaha because you weren't even in preschool yet. But I was in 6th grade, and I had to transition from a small school to a gigantic middle school. I was like a fish out of water." "That's supposed to make me feel better about moving?" Brenda asked. "I'm trying to point out to you that you are actually fortunate. You get to go from a big school to a small school, and it's going to be great for you. You're a talented athlete in every sport, and that's going to make it so much easier for you. The girls in Sibley will be thrilled to have you join their teams. Besides that, you'll make friends just by participating in sports. Hasn't that always been the case in the past?" Alicia reasoned. "Yeah," Brenda conceded. "I guess I see your point. I have made new friends every single time I've joined a new team. Now keep your chin up and be confident, Alicia ordered her sister. Which signpost do you see in this story? And write a sentence or two to explain it. All right, and this is the final story for today. Katie remembered the final piece of advice her mom had spoken to her before she climbed out of the car that morning. No matter what happens, be confident. 7 hours had passed, and cheerleading tryouts were about to begin. 30 girls were trying out for 8 positions on the squad. As Katie glanced around the gym, she saw everything but confidence. Some girls were giggling nervously, and other girls were biting their nails. Mrs. Rickman began to speak, and the gym immediately became quiet. She welcomed everyone to tryouts and explained how the afternoon's events would proceed. For the first activity, students would be called in alphabetical order to perform a cheer by themselves in front of the judges and everyone else. Katie had already figured out that she would be the 4th person to perform. Meredith Anderson, you get to start us off, announced Mrs. Rickman. 3 to go. Confidence, Meredith. Confidence. Meredith performed flawlessly, setting the bar high for all who would follow. Mrs. Rickman called the next name. Amber Appling. 2 to go. Confidence. Katie looked up at the ceiling as Amber performed her cheer. Emerson Blakely, you're up. 1 to go. Confidence, Katie. Oh, confidence. Katie closed her eyes and visualized herself doing all the actions while Emerson chanted the words of the cheer. Katie Broser, it's your turn, Mrs. Rickman announced. Katie took a deep breath, smiled enthusiastically, and jogged to the middle of the gym, her head held high. Here we go. Confidence. She made eye contact with each judge as she started the cheer. 30 seconds later, she was done. I did it! All right. Which of the signposts did you see in this story? And then also in a sentence or two explain it. And then just a little bit of info. This is what your test is going to be like tomorrow as well, but with new questions or new stories, sorry. All right, if you have questions though, make sure you get hold of me and I'll help you out. Have a great day.